Hello everyone, this is Mary Deatherage with Stamps and Lingers, and I am going to do a video tutorial today for you showing you how to make a fun fold called a shutter card. Now, a shutter card looks a lot like this, which if you didn't know what was inside it, you would think it was just a regular old gatefold card, which is fun all by itself. But let's take a look at what's so cool about this particular fold. Look what happens when I open it up. Are you watching? Here we go. See, the shutter opens up and reveals your sentiment on the inside. Now, this isn't terribly difficult, but it does take a few card cuts and some scoring and folding, so we're going to do that. What I want you to know is once you learn the inside mechanism, you can make any sort of card with it, decorate it however you like. You can make it pretty and floral, like so, or you can make it pretty and floral like so. So it's a good technique. Learn the technique now, and then you can decorate it however you like. So let us go ahead and get started. Now, here are the card cuts that you need for the card as I'm showing it today. You're going to have your card base, which is 5.5 by 8.5. Then you need two shutters, which are 3.5 by 4.5 inch, or by 4 inches each. And I like to make those the same color. I think it makes the shutter kind of disappear a little bit on the inside. And then I'm a matter. I like to layer and mat. So I have a mat in a coordinating color. In the case of this card that we're going to demo today, I'm using soft suede as the card base and the shutter. And then I'm using Cajun Craze for my matting and my belly band. So you can do whatever works best for your paper. I tend to coordinate it with my DSP. This is Festive Farmhouse Designer Series paper from Stampin' Up. So we're going to have two mats, which are 2 inches by 5 3/8, and that's for the two front panels. Then you'll have a 3 by 5 3/8 for this inside panel. And you can see peeking right there, there's a 2-inch circle with the same matte color for the sentiment on the inside. That inside sentiment is a 1 7/8 inch circle. And then I have a belly band, and again I use the same color as the mat, and it is 1 inch by approximately 10 inches. You really just need enough to fold around the card. One of the things that's so cool about this is even though it's special and pretty and fun and woohoo, it'll still fit in a regular size medium envelope. So that is fun. It's just an A2 size card when it's all said and done. Then your designer series paper, whatever floats you. Like I said, this is the Festive Farmhouse, and it is a very nice DSP for this time of year, I think. And I have two pieces that are 1 7/8 inch wide by 5 1/4 inches tall. And then for the inner liner is 2 7/8 by 5 1/4. And then when you get ready to decorate your belly band, whatever works for you, that's what you're going to put on the front. The trick you're going to do, as we'll see, is, if you can see it there, this is where the seam is, where I've put the belly band together, and you're just going to cover that up with your decoration. So let's go ahead and start, shall we? We'll set this aside, and you're going to need some way to score and make folds, and I am in this case using my Simply Scored, and you can see my very high-tech marker devices there. There's no telling where the markers that came with this Simply Scored have disappeared to, but I'm going to place my card base into the top corner, and I'm going to make two scores along the long side. The first is at 2 1/8 inch. Just go like that, and then the second is at 6 3/8 inches. And that's done. And while I have the Simply Scored out, let me replace my high-tech markers with another high-tech marker. Ooh, look at that. It's like the digital age. There's 3.5 inches. Now, remember I told you have two shutters. They are 3.5 inches tall by 4 inches wide. And you are going to make a score at 1/2 inch. Now, you could go this way, but that kind of cramps my hands and makes it go weird. So I just take and go 3.5 inches along the 4-inch side. Okay. And since we have 2 shutters, let's do that twice. All right, now Simply Scored and my high-tech scoring devices can go by the wayside. All righty. So for my card base, we're going to just give the card base a fold and a quick burnish, like so. And then let's go ahead and decorate those front panels right quick like a bunny while we've got everything out here. And I'm just going to use some liquid glue and adhere these panels to my cardstock mats. I love this liquid glue. I hope you guys do as well. But of course you can use any adhesive that makes you happy. All right, there's one. And there's the second one coming. Ooh, I put that upside down. Fortunately, it doesn't matter yet, right? Obviously, it would be best if I put those both the same direction when I put them on my card. So now I'm just going to put these on the front gate panels of my card. And the card base doesn't have an up and down yet, so as long as I just orient these the same. I like to use the liquid glue because it gives me a minute to get it wiggled into place and make sure I've got it where I want it. All right, there's one, looks good, and we'll do the second one. Okay. And yes, that is the same direction, so that's good. Alrighty, there we go. All right, so that's good. Now we're going to set that aside for just a second. And I'm going to make my center panel. And so here again, this is a 3 inch by 5 3/8 inch mat, and then a 2 7/8 by 5 1/4 inch DSP. Now this one, we're going to cut a hole right in the middle of it. So instead of just doing my liquid glue around the edges like I normally would, I'm also going to make sure to put some in the center so that when I cut that big hole, my panel, my DSP is still where it belongs and stays where it belongs. All right, so what I'm going to do is we're going to cut a hole, and you'll want to use either a magnetic platform or a sticky note, or you can use both. I'm going to trust my magnetic platform. And what we're doing here is we are cutting. Let me show you what we're cutting. We are cutting this hole, and it is 2 3/8 inches across. So whatever device that you have to cut 2 3/8 inches will work perfectly. I'm going to use a Stitched Shapes framelit from Stampin' Up. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to put that right in the middle, like that. Kind of eyeball it. Not really rocket science. And then I'm going to take this over and I'm going to cut it in my Big Shot. All right. And through the magic of television, here we have what that looks like when we get all done. Okay, let me put a lid on my glue. And now we're going to use one of my favorite things on the planet, Stampin' Dimensionals. And we're going to put them on the back of this panel. Now here's a trick for you guys. It's not really a trick, it's kind of a, this is how you need to do this. Oops. You do not want to cover the back of this in Stampin' Dimensionals, as tempting as it is. Anybody who's watched my videos knows I really like Stampin' Dimensionals a lot. But in this particular case, I want you to quell the urge to put thousands and thousands, and I just want you to put 3 across the bottom, okay? And the reason we're doing that is to not interfere with the sliding of the shutters. As you all sit and go, well, duh, Mary, hello. All right, so let's go ahead and put that on in place. Come off of their dimensionals. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to pull it out of the screen just a little bit so I can make sure it's kind of lined up. And really all I'm doing is I'm centering it between the two folds and making it as up and down as I can do and centering it top to bottom. So that looks about right. All right, that's what we're going to do. Now, let us create a sentiment. And with our sentiment, I'm going to have a 2-inch circle in the same Cajun craze that my other matting is. And then I have a 1 7/8 inch circle. And that's going to sit right smack dab in the middle of my opening. Okay, so let's go ahead and get that stamped right quick. I'm going to use the back of this so that I don't get ink all over my very pretty grid paper. And what I'm doing here is I'm just going to stamp an image from the new Country Home stamp set from Stampin' Up. And I'm using crumb cake ink, and I'm stamping it off once and then stamping my, obviously you can do, you know, pretty much whatever you want, right? But for this card, we're going to do just like this. And then I'm going to take some Mossy Meadow, my favorite new color, and I'm going to stamp a little sentiment right there, like that. Okay, and that's going to be my sentiment for the inside of the shutter. So let's get you out the way. And we'll use a little more glue to adhere that down. Maybe. Okay, there we go. And we're just eyeballing that. And then we will put that in the center of our panel opening. And then it's going to get time to get shuttery. Here we go. Okay, done and done. And that can just sit there for a second and wait while we create our shutters. All right, so we have 2 shutters, and we're going to cut them so that they're going to look like Pac-Man little doohas, okay? So let me show you how we're going to do that. I've got the 3.5 by 4 inch, and I am going to use my grid paper here so that I can help myself out, because why not? What I want to do is I want to measure up 1 3/4 inches from the bottom, so that is to right there. And I'm just going to set my ruler on here. Like, watch this, people. This is so cool. All right, move that out the way. And we're going to go at 1 3/4 inches right there. And then I'm going to go 2 inches from this edge. And I'm going to take my pen and I'm going to mark right in the middle with a dot, like that. Okay, so basically we have cut this in half. Now I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to draw my straight lines, like so. And then I'm going to do it again, one more time on the second one. Again, line the bottom up with a grid line so that I can find 1 3/4 inches easily. And then we're going to line up our ruler and go, so I've gone up 1 3/4 inches, and now I'm going over 2 inches, and I'm again making a little mark. Now, it is true that I could make this cut and then line them up and hold them, but that just doesn't work for me usually. I almost always end up screwing it up. So you're just going to have to put up with me while we do a quick double cut. Okay, can you see Miss Pac-Man or Mr. Pac-Man starting to emerge here? I think you can. All right, now we're going to cut these out. Now, here's a little trick. You don't want these pen lines to show in your card. So when you cut, I want you to cut the pen line off. So this is some pretty easy fussy cutting. I want you to cut the pen line off. See how you can't see it on the part that's left over. And we're going to do that this way as well, like so. And then we'll do that to our second shutter. Same thing, cut the line off. so that you do not see it on your card or in your card, depending on what you'd like to use there. All right, and one more cut. There we go. Okay, now these are going to be a little too long. I just know this because I know this. These are going to be too long this way. So I'm just going to eyeball a 1/2 inch cut off, and I'm just going to cut them both at the same time. And this is really not all that critical. You want it to be enough that it reaches, but not so much that it overreaches. Overreach is never good. Okay, let's move this out the way. And we're fixing to start putting together our shutters. And we're going to be done here. Now I'm going to go ahead and fold my shutters down. Give them a light burnish. Doesn't have to be terribly stringent. You don't have to like lay down on it. And this is how we're going to make this work. I'm going to slide one shutter in from left to right. And I'm going to kind of center the middle of the Pac-Man mouth over my sentiment. And what I'm doing is, if you can see it, this fold line is almost butted up against the edge of my mat, okay? And then the next one on the other side, you can go over or under that first shutter, but you want to be sure that if the top point goes under, then the bottom point should also go under, and the same is true if the top point goes above, the bottom one should also go above, okay? It'll just make it work better. And then you're just going to, again, line up the center, make sure it's kind of closed. First couple of times I made this, I got real head up about whether it was closed, but when the card is closed, you can't really tell if the shutter is closed, right? You can't really open it without opening the whole shutter. Okay, so those are lined up, looked pretty good from here, and now I'm going to take some tear and tape, and I'm going to suggest that you use the tear and tape or another really stout adhesive, because I can promise you that as soon as your recipient gets this and sees what it does, they're going to sit here and go, so these are going to get a lot of work, a lot of exercise, and you want something that's going to hold tight. So what I'm doing is I'm just laying my tear and tape adhesive along the edge of that shutter, and you can see I'm almost to the top edge of it, okay? And then I'll do that on the bottom one as well, which is actually the right side, but I'm doing it towards myself so that I can see it a little better. And then I'm just going to cut that off. Okay, now watch with the magic. Let the magic commence, okay? So I'm just going to hold my hand down so that I'm holding the shutters in place. And I'm going to take the tear and tape cover off of one side at a time. She's going to take the tear and tape cover off of one side at a time. Here we go. There we go. Okay, good. Now watch. Here we go. This is very easy. And I lay the flap down and give it a little rub. I'm not going to show you what it does, but it's going to be cool. Now I'm going to take the cut. Oh, see, I didn't hold it quite snug enough, so I'm going to make sure that's lined up. Take the time it takes, people. We're not in a hurry. Take the time it takes, because this time that you take to make this right will help to make your mechanism work correctly. And when you can't get the cover off the tear and tape adhesive, don't say bad words on the video. There we go. Here we go. It's coming. I can see it. This is it. This is going to be it right here. There we go. Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing on this side. We're just going to lay that down and give it a burnish. Okay, you ready? Don't blink. Don't blink. Here we go. Here we go. Boom. Chakalaka. Closed. Open. Closed. And open. Done. Okay. Now, the last thing I'm going to show you how to do is to make a belly band. And all you do is we have a 1 inch wide by about 10 inches long. And we're just going to kind of center the card on it and bend the side in and bend the side in. Now, you don't want to make this like a space shuttle, okay? By that I mean you don't need it to be within a 1/32 inch tolerance. You want this belly band actually be a little loose. Gasp, okay? Because otherwise it's darn near impossible to get it open to make it do its thing. So now I'm just going to take another little piece of the tear and tape and I'm going to put it on the end of the inside. And then I'm going to pick up that cover. And about the only trick here is to make sure that the edges line up so that it's kind of there, just like that. And you have a belly button, a belly band all ready to decorate. Now, you can see that it does slide on and off quite easily. And just saying, when I made the belly band for my sample, what I used was the circle that I cut out, and I just matted it on a slightly larger piece of the same color of mat, so Cajun Craze in this instance. And then I used another 1 7/8 inch circle with a sentiment on it and a pretty floral image that I fussy cut from the Country Home stamp set. So you can do however you like. As I showed you earlier, we have Enjoy Life was the sentiment for the front and on the inside. And then I had the cat punch and another cute sentiment here. So really it's wide open. The basic shutter card is just a gate card with a cool mechanism on the inside. All right, folks, I appreciate it. I hope you've had a good time, and I hope you will make a gate shutter card soon. Thanks.